Hello and welcome back once again to Belmont Bunch here on week 2 of the pod, the weekly wrap up, where I can collect my angry thoughts in a more reserved manner. And my co-host today, as always, is James.
Hello, yes. My less angry thoughts, but Tom will probably convince me to be more angry.
That's what I do.
All right, so let's start out with the good news of the recap for the past week. The first game against the Devils.
Yep. So the game that tricked you into thinking the offense might be back. So they win it 4-1. This game's already, because of how bad the last two games were, it kind of wiped out any goodwill I had for this win. And it sucks because it was such a satisfying, end-to-end effort where they were just good at, the Isles did everything that I would hope for them to do. And that I would, after, because the first three games, like we said, good, bad, and the ugly. They came out of it 2-1. And I was saying to my brother, hey, if you win games where you don't play well, Boston, then that is a good sign. Now, we have some games where we've played all right now and lost because, spoiler alert, we didn't play horrible against Washington, but there's a lingering issue that I'm going to talk about when I get to that game. In the Jersey game, the offense was good. The goaltending continues to be fantastic from Varley.
He let up his first goal of the season in this game.
Yeah, and this is one that is the middle of the slot, in between the circles. So again, it's kind of more so the area that the Islanders are giving the shot away in makes it difficult. Like if Varley, if that shot's from a little bit further back, Varley makes a stop, but it's a little bit in tight and it's a really good wrister. It's like that perfect where it's over the pad under the glove. It's just like a well-placed shot. And the Isles came out in the third period of that game and said, guess what? We're owning this game. And I don't think I've seen us get to that level since in the two games that came next. So there we go. I got the good stuff out of the way because this week, unfortunately, it's going to be a focus on that
stuff's
stuff.
Done with. All right. Yeah. Let's change the tone now. Why are the Islanders terrible? Why should we never watch their games again? No.
All right. First I'll talk about the second Jersey game first. And then I'll talk about, I think, what's going to take up the majority of the thing, which is the Washington game. But so we came in, having beaten Jersey. Jersey was not with they were on their third string goalie. So they had their backup goalie retire in the offseason, and they had their starting goalie on the COVID protocol list. And I said
their starting goalie, who is fantastic.
Yeah, he's been amazing. And I have him in fantasy. Right? Yeah, Mackenzie. Yeah. He's been fantastic. And because I have him in fantasy, that means he has to have something bad happen to him. And so, in no game in the I was caught in this weird spot where I'm like, we have to win tonight. But I know every game in the NHL is difficult. And also beating a team twice in a row was really difficult. Look at the first two Ranger games. Couldn't get any different. There's something about this season that's going to be very interesting is since you're playing the teams on back-to-backs a lot, I think we're going to see, unfortunately, a lot of this win one, lose one, because it's difficult to sweep a team. It really is. And I think the Isles so far in the goal scoring department are not good enough to wipe the floor with anybody. Even bad team. Well, I don't know if there's a bad team in this division at the moment. I don't think there is. The Rangers are pretty bad, actually. And they crushed us once, and that's their only win. So that's a little bit worrying.
Is that seriously their only win so far?
Yeah, they're 1-4-1. They look they look legitimately bad.
I had no idea.
But I would like to focus on that, but I have to focus on us for the pod. But the Jersey game was just anemic offense. I actually thought we started. So the first period of that game, we played 16 good minutes. And the last 4 minutes of the period, we gave up a penalty power play goal. And then we gave up a soft one. Sorokin gave up a really bad rebound. But that play started with Cizikas getting too aggressive. And so the Devils win an offensive zone faceoff. And puck comes back to Nikita Gusev. He just puts Cizikas in the rear view. He fakes a shot. Cizikas bites and just goes right around him. And now So that puts Sorokin in a bad spot, which is something the Islanders have been doing a lot of. And I'm shocked. I really thought the Isles, one of their strengths would be getting this goalie acclimated to the league by insulating him and not giving up high danger chances. Guess what? They're giving up a ton of high danger chances. And 2 games for Sorokin, no goals for the Islanders offensively. So he hasn't gotten any help, but he also is showing holes in net. And as my friend Brad was saying in one of our group chats, that he at the moment Sorokin is a backup, and that is okay. That's not the end of the world. He's getting acclimated to the league, but he got the shot. He squirted a rebound right back out in front. It was a shot that he should have held first off. But there's also, if you can't hold that, maybe you just knock it to the corner. But he puts it right back out in front and gets tapped in. And it's a bad goal. And I don't want to keep making excuses for him, but the Isles in front of him have given up some bad chances, but then he won't make the stop either. So it's like compounding issues. And then the rest of the game, the Isles played all right. And in the third period, the Islanders played well. And we'll get to this with the Washington game. You can tell you're watching an Islander game if you're an Islander fan or you're just any fan of the league, just watching the Islanders consistently, when they're going to score and when they're not. It's like, I think it was pretty clear after the first period of the game. I saw it on Twitter. People were like, so Scott Wedgwood, third string goalie, is going to get a shutout, isn't he? He did. And the Isles didn't, even though they got some late chances and they pounded, the puck to the net in the third period. I mean, the Devils did what the Islanders do, which is take the lead, choke the life out of the game. And the Isles don't have the offense to make up for that. And if the Isles give up the first goal recently, it's really scary because we're not good when we're chasing a goal. So that being said, I think it's one more thing. Sorokin made an excellent save. It was his first big save of his career. It was before it was 1-0 in the Devil game. And I want to give him that credit because I didn't say it in the recap video. All right. It's time for Washington.
Okay, wait. So I just had to say then one thing then about the Devils game. And it's funny that you mentioned that sometimes when you have that feeling that the Islanders are not going to score, because it's like, I definitely remember feeling that in the Devils game, the second Devils game. And it's almost like where the feeling comes in for me is when that they're just chipping and chasing and then their forecheck isn't there, which I think you did mention in one of your recap videos. And so, it's almost like painfully obvious that they're, I don't know, just maybe it's not that they're not putting the effort in, but like they're just tired or they're not, for some reason, they don't have their mojo going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's almost the opposite in terms of like not putting the effort in. They're working their asses off. They like, I am not doubting the Islanders players' efforts, and I'm not doubting their like game preparedness, because I think they're prepared. This is something I actually disagree with Barry with. He made a comment after the game last night that the team isn't in playoff mode. And I actually haven't, it's borderline, but I do think that the Isles have put in really solid, like defensively, their effort has been really good so far, except for a couple of minutes in this Washington game and the Ranger game. But it's tough. So we have the best, we went into last night with the best offense and the worst offense, best defense. And the scary thing is it feels like we are going to be that. And that is like feeling like a best case scenario at the moment. And man, that's going to be tough. Like it feels like pulling teeth watching us try to score. And to what I was saying earlier about it feels like they're trying so hard. I think they have 7 5-on-5 goals this year. 6 of them are from the first line. Barzal has 3. Lee, I think, has a couple. And Eberle has a couple. So that is distressing.
Dobson has 1.
Yeah.
Oh no, was that a tip from Lee technically?
No, they gave it to Dobson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so there's a worrying. I mean, at least you could say,
though,
at the very least, you could say the first line is performing. And Barry last night said we're playing with 1 line right now, and he's right offensively. He's absolutely correct offensively. Because Bo wasn't playing well, then he gets hurt. We don't have the depth, and that's something that we should have seen coming into the season. And this team can't take a lot of injuries. It unfortunately right now it's not even that good at full health. Like offensively, defensively it's good. but I mean,
Well,
you have to score goals eventually.
the one thing defensively that does really like that, what actually legitimately scared me last night with the Washington game was Pellick, because he was being looked at by one of the team, I don't know, doctors or whatever, the
Mhm.
health people on the team. And yeah, so I mean, he was playing the game again. I don't know if it was just maybe he just something not serious, but if he gets injured again for like any length of time, I don't think we're going to be better than 500 hockey. But
Yeah, we
Pellick
saw it.
alone gets injured.
Yeah, no, we saw it last year when we didn't have Pelic in the back half. We were bad. And luckily
Green
he's
kind of saved us.
yeah, but now Green looks bad this year, which makes sense. He's a 40-year-old dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did you expect? So I think man, it's weird because my whole life as an Islander fan, I don't think the Islander fandom has ever gotten cocky, but I think we got a little like the fans and Barry have gotten a little bit too comfortable with, I don't know, maybe the idea of or I should say Lou instead of Barry, that, oh, Barry will just solve everything. But the problem is now I have like the Capitals game, which I've been kind of broadly talking about without mentioning it. But Barry is starting to do the thing that coaches, like older coaches that get disconnected from their team. Babcock did this in Toronto. Like they fall in love with like one gritty role player that like doesn't deserve the love, and then they keep playing the guy, and you're like, why is this guy getting ice time? And that guy's Leo Komarov right now, because so Leo takes the 5-minute major last night in a tie game in the offensive zone. That's like, you should be stapled to the bench. I was saying, not even kidding, like it's kind of a joke, but then I thought about it and was like, no, that actually should happen. I was like, he should come straight out of the box when the 5-minute major ends, go straight to the locker room. Like, see yourself out, Leo. And I was saying, because after the game, Barry was saying he didn't regret that Leo took 2 more shifts after taking that penalty. And I think I think like little by little, we've had a couple of things with Barry where we're a little bit perplexed, but when he gets the results, we don't question it. And one of those is, it seems like the accountability like depends on which player it is. Joshua Hosang got sent to Europe because they didn't like his attitude. Barzal gets benched when he commits offensive zone penalties. And I'm not saying those aren't justified. I mean, the Hosang one's kind of like, I don't know. But like, when a player does something wrong, Barry punishes them. Leo does something excruciatingly obviously wrong, and he gets back out on the ice immediately. I mean, like, if you're talking about accountability, Leo should not see the ice for a week minimum. He cost them. It looked like he was going to cost them the game. The Isles put on a heroic penalty kill performance. Bailey, Brock, Clutterbuck got a clear in there. Pellich got a few sticks in. Pajot stopped a goal by getting a stick in on a pass. It was a heroic penalty kill against one of the league's best penalty kills, although the Capitals were missing a lot of guys. And then they just to throw that away. That's a backbreaker is too strong a word for this early into the season, but that's like just debilitating to work that hard and not come up with something. And I feel like that's the motto of the Islanders season so far. They work extremely hard. You can't say that they're not putting in 100% effort. You could probably look at Lou and say the scoring issues were foreseeable because like the depth isn't fantastic, and we continue to play Ross on our third line. And last night I tweeted it. I think that we should stop getting on Ross's back. And I'm not saying like about like how he's playing. I think he's being utilized just incorrectly at this point. And that's not the player's fault. The player doesn't decide how they're implemented into the lineup. Barry is playing him on the third line on a line that we need to score. And he doesn't do that. And guess what? That's not what he's paid to do. So the good thing is, there was some good and there was some bad out of Barry's post-game comments last night. The bad is that he didn't sound remorseful for putting Leo back in the game. By the way, Leo was one of the guys that missed an assignment on the game-winning goal with 30 seconds left. Why was he on the ice? Like, he shouldn't have been on the ice. I think Letty also had a horrible play where so it was like a 3-on-2, and whoever was taking the puck into the zone for the Caps, like if you are the team with only 2 guys on a 3-on-2, you gotta you're playing a zone. You're not going to the guy because then it creates a 2-on-1. Now your other guy's screwed, and Leo wasn't getting back, and Letty pinched. Pass got by Letty, and now it's a 2-on-1, and Varley's screwed. So Leo should not have played again. Any seconds of that game after his penalty.
I have just like to not to play devil's advocate, but just to possibly see the other side of maybe what Barry was thinking, was because that was Leo's debut game for the season, and I'm sure he wished he probably didn't play in that game. But
I hope it's his last game of the season.
But I mean, I could see somebody, in the leadership of the team like Barry or Lou thinking that they don't want to destroy a player's confidence, especially if they need them, especially if another player gets hurt. Obviously, Bo is hurt. So, hopefully he'll be back in a few games. What was the estimate? I remember reading.
They put him on the IR, which means at least a week. So 4 games minimum. Okay. So 3 more.
And do we have any idea what he hurt? It looked like
to me, it was
back injury.
They called it lower body. It was, I think I said in the video, I wasn't a big fan of the fact that the Devils player, so he fell on him. That part is innocent, but then he kind of laid his full body weight on him. And I think the NFL's had an issue with this where players are purposely, they're doing it on purpose, but they're trying to make it look like an accident. It's I don't know. That looked bad to me. It looked like he laid his full body weight and kneed him into the ground. And
that was very suspicious. And I mean, who knows? It might be more common because being on skates and whatever, it's probably hard to actually get up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so obviously I hope he's going to be fine. But yeah, the kind of other side of it I'm thinking of is Barry probably didn't want to destroy Leo's confidence, by sending him straight to the locker room. I agree that, he definitely should have just been on the bench. And then, what's funny is right before the Caps scored their the game-winning goal.
Mm-hmm.
It just I just saw you just see the camera pan as the Caps are kind of going down the ice towards Varley, and just see Leo standing there not doing anything, trying to get back. And I was like, oh man, he's on the ice for the game-winning goal too. It sucks.
Yeah. So I think the confidence thing, definitely I this is the reason I'm not the coach and Barry is. He's older than me. No, there's other reasons. Barry, he's not going to send the guy straight to the locker room. I would, but then I'm sure the player would punch me because I'm not as tough as Barry as well. Barry looks like he's pretty tough. But so Barry, I think, like you said, should have had him on the bench the rest of the game. Because look, I mean, at that point, even though you haven't lost yet, you have to be if I were Leo's teammate, I'd be angry at him. I'd be really angry. We are tied in an important game. The other team is shorthanded. Everyone's hurt on their team. They have no Ovi. They had no Backstrom. They had no centers by the time we got down to this juncture of the game. You still lose.
It was kind of funny. In your recap, you were like, you're playing against a team with nobody on it. And
it's really bad. They basically lost to, a team of replacement level players.
Who could have used it as motivation to shine. You know what I mean?
And that's psychologically,
that right? It could play to your advantage.
But if you're the Islanders, you can't even give them the opportunity.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And this is where the lack of scoring is going to, I think, be a thing for the whole year in terms of if it continues, we are screwed, because even in games where you outplay the other team, I'm not saying we outplayed them last night. I think it was pretty even. We played a bad first, got bailed out by Dobson. By the way, Dobson is exempt from any slander from me. He played an excellent game and he's been playing really well. And so far, nobody should even mention really the defense. Everything should be on the forwards. And I think Barry, it's weird because so this is Barry's 3rd year. For 2 years, I feel like we have not had any issues with him. A couple of lineup things, but like I said, when they win, nobody cares. Losing Broussard in the offseason because they didn't have enough money to sign him, is looking like a bigger issue because that third line is just horrible. It's just terrible. Pajot has nothing to work with. Bellows is getting there, but he's kind of like a fourth liner right now. He's got some moves. He had a through the legs play last night. He seems to like that. I saw him do that in one of the practices they had. When I snuck in. No, they televised that. But it really, it's scary because I'm demanding Bellows and Wahlstrom to be playing. I'm demanding like Ross and Leo out of the lineup. But what happens if we do that and it still doesn't help? Then we're just like, that's scary.
Yeah, then we're just screwed. All right, nothing matters. Nothing changes.
Yeah. So that's where I'm wondering, this is where I go, I try to humble myself and go, all right, well, take a second to remember you're some random guy that has like 5 followers on Twitter. And that guy has won a Stanley Cup. So Barry, the last.
So basically equivalent, right?
Yeah.
The
last thing I could fall back on, because I am very frustrated with Barry right now, is that they're putting in the effort. The players like playing for him, and they had been getting results. And look, last year actually started off, I think, similarly to this. I think our offense wasn't this anemic, but Barry has been here. So I think maybe he just doesn't want to play his cards too early, going immediately for a desperation plunge by like going with an all kid. Well, not an all kid, because you got Pajot on the third line with him. But I almost feel like the season is too short. You're in too tough a division. You have to try things. And the good thing
that's exactly what I was thinking. We're just if there was any season to kind of experiment with different techniques or lines or anything like that, like this was probably the season, I'm
thinking the opposite. I'm thinking there's
because it's an abbreviated season, so it's like, and especially in the beginning of the season,
yeah. But also if you're in win now mode, which I think we are, you have to take every game. Like you can't like throw games and be like,
oh yeah, like, I wouldn't think throwing the games, but
like that's obviously a little bit too I mean more like,
yeah, that's why we've been losing. It's because we're intentional. We want it. We don't.
We put money on it.
Yeah, right.
I guess I'm trying to think of how to word that a little bit better. But like, if I think because it's a short season, there's no time to. I guess you could take it from both sides. You could say there's no time to keep going with this lineup, and I think that's probably fair. And I would fall on that side. And I wonder. Some people would probably say that there's no time to experiment. But after last night's game, I think the people that would have said there's no time to experiment and we need to just go with a tried and true lineup, it's not working. And you're going to have to score more than 2 goals in a game at some point. So far in the year, the Isles have played 6 games, right? Yeah, 3-3-0. And I think we have 11 goals. That's less than 2 goals a game. That's not good. That's not close to good enough. And and the scary thing is the first line looks really good, but nothing else is there. Bailey, God, I hate that Bailey just looks bad. He's doing like non-scoring things. Like I said, he looked really good on that penalty kill last night, and I have to give him credit for that. But at a certain point, people need to score. You can't just win every game 1-0 like the Boston game.
Bailey has been shooting more. From what I can tell.
But he
hasn't made anything.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because I remember last year you saying like whenever there's a 2-on-1 or something like that for the Islanders, like that the goalie on the other team will be like seriously trying to defend against Bailey. You're like, come on, it's Bailey. He's gonna pass.
Yeah. And I think I also said like the best shots he has are the ones where he closes his eyes and just goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like he look, some guys on this team have a shot. Barzy has developed a shot this year, and thank God, because that's one of the only ways we're scoring is through Barzy. Lee doesn't really have much of a shot. Eberle has a decent shot. There's not a lot of guys on this team that are snipers. Bailey very much is not one of them. Bailey is a playmaker. You see it a lot. You try to count in a game how many times he passes up a shot to pass it. It's going to happen every time. That's why in the playoffs, even when he's at his best, I think he had 1 goal and like 20 assists. That's what it's going to look like when he's good. And the scary thing is who's scoring on that line In the playoffs, it was Brock and Bo. Brock has 2 goals. He looks all right. He doesn't quite look like dominant, but he looks all right. Bo had been a ghost and now he's hurt. So if I'm making the lineup for next game, and this is not going to happen because every time Islander fans say, "Hey, this is my lineup," it doesn't happen because I think Barry has been too in love with his grinders on the third line.
Mm-hmm.
I would have same top line, second line. Obviously, with Bo not available, I would go Brock, Dal Cole, and Bailey. I think, or no. Sorry, I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna put Bailey to center the third line. I'm gonna move Pajot up to center the second. We saw a little bit of that last night. I saw Pajot playing on the second line a little bit. People were excited by that. Pajot scored 26 goals last year. A lot of them were with Edmonton, Ottawa, and that was because Ottawa played. First of all, Pajot was like their first line center, and they were terrible, but they scored a lot. So it was a different system. But if you're going to need goals, guess what? He's done it before at the NHL level, and you need that right now really badly. So I would have Bailey centering the third since he's not scoring anyway. I'd have Brock on the second on the wing. I'd have Pajot down the middle. Dal Cole looked good in the second Devil game. I can't believe it.
Imagine though, honestly, if we could get Dal Cole, like build up some confidence for him, and then like that would be like even if he's not like stealing the show kind of player, but if he just is like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I asked you last year who do you think if it was like a 1v1 hockey game, which I know is not a reasonable thing to ask, would be like have more hockey skill, like Ross Johnston, Leo Komarov, or Michael Dal Cole?
It's easily Dal Cole.
Yeah, and so it's
for skill,
yeah. And so, I think I'd be happy with him, like seeing him play more, and
yeah, I mean, he's never had amazing line mates. So that could be part. I mean, so at this point, this is where we're at with trying to find goals. We're like we're bottom of the barrel. We're trying to find goals, and Dal Cole. It's weird that Dal Cole got scratched for the Washington game when I actually noticed him in a positive way in the Devils game that we lost 2-0. He had one offensive sequence where he kind of did the Barzy. He did the full around the zone, and he looked good. And God, even though he hasn't done much in his career so far, he's like 26. It's better than putting in 33-year-old Leo who commits awful penalties constantly.
Okay, so about the 5-minute major, did you think that was like definitively a 5-minute major, or were you like so on it?
Well, it's funny because I didn't even care. Like,
yeah,
well,
I know.
So I don't know how to like. I mean, like,
you were just annoyed that it happened.
Yeah, I was just so angry at Leo. I knew it was a penalty. It was absolutely a penalty, 100%. I wasn't even listening to the broadcasters talk about because they were reviewing it, to confirm that it was a 5-minute. I was too busy screaming like you.
I think my guess is why they kept it at the 5-minute majors because I didn't see it, but I remember I just did hear the broadcaster saying how who was the player that Leo hit?
Ooh, I think it was Lars Eller.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I think his head then hit the glass, and that's why they like kept it at the major because they're trying to avoid that.
There's a 2-minute version of boarding, and there's a 5-minute, and I think the 5-minute includes like head contact, but I think so. What they were saying, the reason that they were saying it was borderline between 2 and 5 was because Leo didn't get him in the back and like staple him to the boards. It was like a side hit. Either way, I actually prefer them to call that a 5 because you're trying to get rid of concussions in the game. Guess what? Protect the guy who got his head knocked in. And it's funny because like jokingly Islanders fans have been tweeting, and this is where maybe we get to the Twitter section. Islander fans have been tweeting, I really think this Leo guy's he's despicable. We got to suspend him the whole year so Barry can't use him. So I like, listen, I do wish he would get suspended at least a game, but there was a comparable hit the other day that didn't get suspended. So I guess he won't. Yeah. I was saying on Twitter that I wish that Lou. So if a coach keeps utilizing a player, this was in Moneyball, but like So if a coach keeps utilizing a player in a way that the GM doesn't want them to, the GM could find a way to trade him and then go, guess what? You have to do it my way now because that I took your toy away. Or you like send him down to the minors. And I was like, hey, the only way, because Barry said, I don't regret leaving him in the game. And he cost us the game. So I'm like, Barry, you should regret that. And he should pay with playing time. Like, that is a stupid, like unaware of the game situation type play. You're in the offensive zone. There is no purpose to staple that guy to the boards. It's a tied game with 7 minutes left. You have to be an absolute moron to lay that hit. And he did. And that should be, so what you were saying earlier about confidence.
Yes. And
first,
how confident I am that I'm always right. No.
Well, first, I think he's a veteran. So I think confidence, like he's been in the league, he should have, but there's confidence, but there's also accountability, and Leo should atone for that. Like, cause he basically put us behind.
Get the shame.
Yeah. He put us behind the 8 ball for the rest of the game, and he was on the ice for the game winner. And now you could say that the Isles should have just been holding the puck in their own zone instead of dumping it in with like a minute left and giving the Caps the puck back with a chance. I was screaming at the TV, take your time, hold the puck, get the overtime point, work from there, figure it out from there. And so, you could say that the defensemen that were on the ice, and I was so angry, I don't even remember who they were. I think Andy Green, Letty was out there. I know, because he was involved in the goal. But don't dump that puck in. Like, make them come to you and pressure you, and then if you have to, dump it. But, like, they should have been killing every second on that clock. And instead, they dumped it into the Cap zone, didn't get the puck, and the Caps went the other way. There's no excuse to be down a 3-on-2 when you guys dumped it in. You should be prepared for them to be coming the other way. So the Isles dug their own grave when it came to that. And sorry, I got sidetracked from the Leo thing. But Leo, accountability. Whenever Barzy does something, we bench him. Whenever Hosang did something, we sent him away from the team. Leo has to. I think this is a big moment for Barry to lay it down and say, guess what? Nobody's exempt. Leo, you're like sitting for like a week. Like, that's a selfish, stupid play. I take some accountability in the post game as a coach, which Barry didn't. He didn't say that he said he was like fine with putting Leo right back in. And I just have a hard time believing that would be the case if it was Barzal.
Maybe he was thinking that or saying that, whatever, because he was unhappy with the call in the first place. Mm-hmm. Almost like a little bit of whatever, like showing his unhappiness with the call, kind of. I mean, it only affected the Isles at the end, but yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I would say at the end of the day, I'm gonna trust. I trust, whatever obviously Barry does with the team during the game. Mm-hmm. Again, I mean, it's obviously not the call a lot of people would have made.
Yeah.
But however, in a world where the Caps didn't get that goal and maybe the game did go to overtime, or, where like whoever won at that point, right? Like, mm-hmm. I think every Isles fan would have been okay if we at least got the overtime point.
Yeah, it would have been a big difference.
Yeah. And so it's like, if that happened, where it actually did go to overtime, everybody probably been like, whatever.
You're definitely right, because in that I think like I'll talk like from my perspective, my game recap would have been it would have been different. It wouldn't have been incredibly different. I still would have been hard on Leo and hard on Barry for putting Leo back out there. But it probably would have been more like, well, first of all, I would have remembered that Dobson played amazing and given him credit for playing great. But I think if that had happened and the Isles got the point, I would have said, okay, this is not optimal. You were playing a team that everybody on that team is like hurt or in COVID protocol. But a point is a point. And now if you win the next game, because you asked me on Twitter, what are the mm-hmm. goals for the games? And I said 3 out of 4 points. Like minimum, you get an OT point and you win the other. And because of the way the Jersey game went. I I think I, as the team did, overlooked that game, thinking, oh, it's a third string goalie. We're going to win. We already beat them once. And they didn't show up that well. And now they're in trouble. I saw somebody on Twitter, and if I find who it is, I'll be very angry and I'll send them something angry. Because when the Isles, after the Boston game, they said the Isles are 3-1. I think there's a very clear path to the Isles to start 6-1. Because he was like, oh, they're going to sweep Jersey, and then they're going to take at least one of the Washington games, and they'll be like 5-2-1 or something. They'll be in great shape. And I just want to slap that guy, whoever it is, because first of all, I don't think you can map out hockey like that. It's not a sport that lends itself well to. Well, first of all, just ask anybody that bets on hockey. They're like, it's a nightmare. Any given night, like the LA Kings have been winning games. They crushed the Blues the other night. Crazy stuff happens. And you can't plan ahead like that. And you got to treat every game like it's the Stanley Cup final, especially this year. Because fewer games, tough division, and you're only playing teams in your division. So as it stands right now,
the only playing teams in the division thing is like just sounds exhausting as a fan, let alone, for the players. I'm sure they're like just feel constantly like they're being ground down.
They got to be tired of there's going to be a lot of fights by the end of the year because they're going to be so tired of these specific players on other teams. But so finishing off with going forward, man, now this is scary because this road trip.
I was just looking at the schedule. Yeah. So we have our second game against the Caps on Thursday, which is the same day this video will be posted.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the 2 Philly games back to back,
and on the road.
Oh, yikes. And then, so that's the weekend. And then Tuesday is our first game against Buffalo.
Yeah.
Which is at home.
Yes.
Both are at home.
Yeah. So we have a 3-game homestand after this.
Okay.
So for me, I am extremely distressed because I think in this division, one good thing is I don't think one team looks like they're the complete real deal yet. I think somebody will emerge. This is a really good division. And the reason that I think a team hasn't emerged yet is probably because since it's a tough division, teams keep, taking one and losing one. And it keeps anybody from being dominant record-wise. But these are good hockey teams. Buffalo's ahead of us. The Isles are in next to last. We're in 7th out of 8 right now. And that the division is kind of the way that we're in 7th right now. And if we win a game, we could be in 4th. It's a very tenuous position for the Isles, starting with no points in the first 2 games on a big road trip. And let's be honest, they should have won both games. They were playing a team with their third string goalie in the Devils that they had just dominated, and they didn't show up to that game. And then in the Washington game, Washington had nobody available for that game and still won. And that is that's an absolute killer to lose that game in regulation. Washington's expanding their lead in the division, and the Isles just gave them an extra point. So the Isles now, they have to return the favor. So on the last 2-game series against New Jersey, we dominate the first one and we suck in the second one. We were okay the other night, but it's tough because if you grade them on a curve, the Isles played a good game against the other team's backups. They couldn't beat the other teams. They couldn't beat Washington with a lot of guys that were placed into the lineup last minute.
How much did Washington change its lineup since the playoffs? Because we obviously played really well against them during the playoffs over the summer. So, because obviously, the current people that aren't there because of COVID protocol and whatever, but other than that, I don't even remember exactly what their lineup looked like last.
Well, when we played them in the playoffs, they had Ovechkin. So they roster turnover hasn't been big.
Okay.
So there's no silver lining.
Difference.
There's no silver lining to losing that game because so you beat them last year in 5 games at full strength, and you come out and you struggle to beat their B team. That's not good.
It's a small sample size though. Obviously, we're gonna be playing
Yeah,
them 8 times, so we'll get an
yeah.
idea.
And this game tomorrow is a playoff game. I'm
Mhm.
considering that a playoff game. I'm sure Barry said the team isn't up to playoff snuff, and every game's basically a playoff game this year. So at least, he's saying the right stuff when it comes to that. But I think he's got to experiment with the line. I think he's got to get Bellows and Wallstrom more playing time. Carrie Haber on Twitter, who's a really good follow. If you're into like advanced analytics, but also just like snarky Islanders stuff, which is all of us, he said something that I think is really important in player development, which is Oliver Wahlstrom. We took him 12th overall in the first round of a draft, and we don't use him. And he's not even developing because guess what? He's not playing in the minors and he's not playing in the pros. How is he going to get better if he's not playing hockey? Like,
Where's so he's not playing? Why is he
so
not playing
he's on the
minors?
taxi squad right now,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So if you're
I
not
forgot.
getting like, because the best way to like learn and be a good become a good NHL player to develop is to play NHL minutes and get experience, play
I don't know.
against
I think I'm a pretty good hockey player, and I have 0 NHL minutes.
that. But
No,
like
I know what you mean. Yeah.
they like look at Dobson. They threw Dobson into Taves' position and just said, good luck. And not just good luck, but like, he had played a little bit last year, Dobson, but they threw him into a bigger role with no safety valve, and he's done well. Guys, it's time. Now, this is maybe it's because Barry is a defensive minded coach and he doesn't want to do that with the forwards, but we took the plunge with Dobson and it's working. And I will give credit where that is due. Barry said that he thinks Dobson can be an elite defenseman. I'm seeing the possibilities of that. Dobson
Mhm.
has impressed me almost every game except for the one Ranger game. But that's a pretty good ratio for him. He's a 21-year-old defenseman
Who's
playing a lot
off?
of minutes.
Who's offensively more minded offensively than seems like anybody else? Seems like some of the offense.
Yeah, well, you would eventually. I think Pollock has the most offensive
Oh yeah,
ability
yeah.
of the defensemen, but so far Dobson is the one that has been doing. He's been quarterbacking the power plays.
Mhm.
Pollock hasn't gotten to do his slam
Which
yet.
scares the shit out of me sometimes too, because he's hit like Brock in the head before, if I remember correctly, and like he's
Oh
hit
yeah,
not only players but his own players. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, he's been getting them on net a little bit better in
okay.
the Capital game. By the way, our power play has looked all right, even when it doesn't score. It's creating momentum. He
I
got
think it will. I think in the long term that's not going to be as true unless something I don't know unless it's Dobson that's really changing the momentum on that or other
I think it
people.
might be. I think
Yeah,
there's something. It's weird that they've progressed in terms of power play and special teams in general. Their penalty kill has been good.
yeah.
They've gotten better in that area, and that's an area I said they needed to get better in. But they've gotten worse in depth scoring, and I think you could attribute that to a crappier third line and the second line
Hmm.
not showing up. We don't expect the fourth line to score. When the fourth line scores, it's the cherry on top. The middle six, as they call it, the second and third line, they have to do something, and they're not doing anything. Pajot has the one goal. He's got one assist.
Yeah.
And that's not blaming Pajot. He doesn't have
No,
line
no,
mates.
yeah.
He's never going to be able to impact the team playing with Ross and Leo. It I
Talk about
think
wasted potential. I mean, like that's wasted
yeah,
right there for sure.
you're paying Pajot $5 million. Uh, maybe he should get second line minutes. I think the first thing that I would think about if I'm talking about goals, first of all, is to play the kids, Bellows and Wallstrom. But second is, if you're worried about, well, those two, Bellows and Wallstrom, have no history of scoring goals in the NHL. Well, first of all, they need to play to have a history.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Pajot does have a history of scoring in the NHL. He is a proven scorer. Don't surround him with nothing to work with. Give him something. Maybe they have to figure out a third line center situation for now with Bo out. Maybe
Mhm.
Pajot needs to be the permanent second line center with Brock on the wing and Bailey on the other to give, Bailey's got playmaking ability. Pageau's got scoring ability. Brock's got a little bit of both. Maybe that could work. And Pageau's like a quick, crafty little player. So I'm like, I'm not a coach. And
Wait, you're not? You've been lying to me this whole time? I believed in you.
But I'm just looking at, the blender is what they call it when they jumble the lines, and we'll see.
We will see.
I am very nervous. I am so pessimistic because I just don't see it on that third line. Broussard last year wasn't amazing, but he was good enough to provide solid scoring depth, and that's gone. And amazingly, I think that is the number one person we miss. I think you would have, if you polled Islander fans and said, who are we going to miss the most? Greiss, Taves, Broussard, or Greiss. Wait, I said Greiss first.
Yeah.
I forgot who the fourth was.
Yeah. Who else left? We can think of this.
Boychuk.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah. I think of those four, fans would have been split, and it would have been split between Taves and Greiss. Well, no, they would have said Taves because they would have assumed that Sorokin was going to come in.
That's
as a
exactly what I was thinking.
So the fact that Dobson has stepped in and made that not an issue basically points to Broussard is the missing link.
He was pretty streaky last year, but at least he was there. Like, he was competent,
And it's better than being consistently bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Fair.
Yeah. Because, it's, man, I'm really worried because it's going to be really difficult to pull off trades this year, especially. We're already, Leo doesn't do a lot of trading. And
you mean Lou?
Lou.
Yeah.
I hope
Leo doesn't do any trading.
Leo doesn't do anything.
I didn't mean it like that, but
Leo's supposed to be one of our best penalty killers, but he commits all the penalties.
Yeah.
Very smart. Maybe he's like one of those guys from like, I think it's like in The Office. That's like, I'm looking for like a middle management position and I don't want to move up from there.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Leo's like, I don't want to do anything, so I'll go to the penalty box anytime because then I don't have to.
Apparently they say, I don't remember who told me this. It might have been you. It might have been some other Isles fans, but like apparently Leo has he's like good for team morale. That's what people say.
Yeah.
And so it's like his performance off the ice might be, good for everybody. Like he might be, I don't know. I have no idea.
Make him the assistant coach in charge of comedic timing. I don't know. Just get him off the ice and give him a position where he can just, I don't know.
Oh,
make him a freaking make up a fake position. Make him the assistant to the regional manager. Have him travel with the team, joke around with them, be the guy everybody likes, and then never play hockey. Because I've had it. I've absolutely had it. And
you do surprisingly, even last season. This is consistent though. Even last season, you were generally frustrated when he was playing.
Because he adds at this point he adds nothing.
Yeah.
We have a fourth line, and Leo isn't part of it. So we have 5 fourth liners playing on our team when that is too many for sure. And our fourth line hasn't even been that great. So this is very worrisome. That essentially means your bottom 6 is completely useless for anything out. Like, they'll grind the other team down, and that's why I think the Islanders are a better playoff team than they are a regular season team, because for some reason in the playoffs that, I think the grind of a whole season, players get tired of getting, chipped and chip and chase hockey. Yeah. And the Isles do that well, and I think that's why the playoffs work well for us. But I even said when I was working on my season preview was, the hardest part for the Islanders is going to be making the playoffs because they don't score, and the regular season is more about scoring, and then the playoffs is defensive. It's kind of like, I think baseball's like that a little bit too, where pitching takes over in the playoffs, and hockey defense tends to take over. And here we are as the Islanders, and we have an incredible defense and no offense, which is not good for the regular season.
Yeah,
but
I see. So
I feel like this is the most down on the Isles I've been. Well, actually, last year,
after
we lost to Ottawa, and I threw the camera in the video. I mean, it was jokingly,
Oh
but I
yeah,
was pretty
that broke my
angry.
camera. But
I
yeah,
know, and I did it
yeah.
as a joke too.
I see. I told you to do it. I was like, you
Yeah.
should. Yeah, that was fun.
But
Um,
yeah, I think this is worse than that. I think last year's like that was a little bit over dramatic at that point. I mean, we were playing really badly, but now there's
well,
like more troubling things when you're now disagreeing with Barry on stuff, because now it's not just a players not doing the thing issue. Now it's a maybe the coach isn't deploying the players
it was
in the
one thing.
best way.
In my opinion, I would say again, small sample size. Like, it's just like it was one game where he decided to play Leo
Mhm.
after Leo, you know, possibly cost us the game. Um, and so I'm not gonna hold it against him, you know, but
I'm gonna hold it against him.
but so we'll see. I think though we should probably wrap it up,
Yeah.
and but let's just do a quick lightning round. So we
Okay.
obviously have the Capitals. Second
Mhm.
Capitals game. I think obviously now is our chance to prove that like, okay, we can actually play well or do
Mhm.
something, right? Like, just don't give up to like the second string. So
And keep an eye
talking
on the
about
roster. Keep an eye on the lineup for tonight by the time this comes
right.
out.
I keep on forgetting. And then what do you think? Lightning round. How do you think we'll do against the two games on the road against Philly, and then our first game against the Sabres?
Um, I'm worried for all of them. Philly had an excellent start to the year, and then they kind of got annihilated by Boston. I think 6-1 in a game,
Oof.
and it kind of they've had a couple of tough losses where they look pretty bad. Part of that is they're missing one of their best players in Sean Couturier, um, which is kind of the equivalent of us missing Brock. He's a great two-way center. Um, so he'll be missing those games. But as we've proven in the first Washington game, that doesn't mean anything. I do expect desperation to take a notch up for the Isles. So I'm gonna hope that the Isles split Philly. Um, so 2 points out of the Philly series. Maybe they get two overtime losses. Counts the same. And the Buffalo game is kind of going to be a must win. I do think we can win the Buffalo game. Even though Buffalo is ahead of us right now by a point, um, they still, it still feels like they're figuring things out a little bit. They have a lot of scoring talent, but I still think they're a bit of a mess defensively. So
Okay.
that is what we need because we need goals.
Yeah, yeah, right. We need to play a team with bad defense, or at least like not great defense, that our offense has a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. And then obviously let us know what you guys think in the comments. Tom had a lot to say about this one,
Yeah.
which is true about every Islanders game. So really nothing changed.
Nope. It was just a lot sadder.
Yeah, it was funny because in the beginning you were like energetic and you were like yeah, like what we had that one good game, but like this is what they all did wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
And now towards the end, it just got progressively less energy, and you were like,
Well,
nothing
that's
matters.
kind of how the week went. It started
It's
off with a
true.
nice,
It's a good
fun
point.
win, and it little by little got depressing and tiring. And I guess it's well, because we've had some success over the last couple of years, and now
Mhm.
it feels like we're in a very difficult spot. It's also the first time that I think fans have turned on Barry a little bit, not all the way. Like I said, there was a guy on Twitter that was kind of trying to get me to say fire him.
Yeah.
Absolutely not at that point at all. Uh, I would say I wouldn't even revisit that idea until like the end of February. Like if we're really bad, maybe, but like I don't know. I think that's
Yeah, I
I
also
think
think the past two seasons we've seen such a dramatic turnaround that it's like if he has one bad season, I mean, unless it's like literally the Islanders lost every game, then
mhm.
okay, yeah, sure, maybe Trotz something happened, the wires got crossed.
Yeah,
But
if things really get away from us, that's
yeah,
the only way I could see it. For now, the one thing that I think I can leave it on is if Barry is saying that we need more scoring. He said that last year. I haven't heard him say it recently. Well, I mean, he said we had the one line, but then he needs to talk to Lou and help, like tell Lou, I need a scorer. I need them to do this specific thing. I need them to be like a third line scorer, take over for Ross. They need to communicate here. They can't Disney this with the new sequels. They can't.
Wow, what a reference.
Yeah, they
What is
need
the trade
to.
deadline? Hang on. It's trade
Oh, yeah.
deadline's April 12th.
Okay, that's
So
pretty late into the year.
that is, yeah.
But
The regular season ends May 8th.
yeah.
So that I wouldn't expect any trades from Lou earlier than April.
Well, yeah, it
know?
sucks because you don't want to leave it to the deadline because then that's when you end up overpaying because you get desperate.
Right.
So I hope that they get out ahead of this and trade for exactly Derek Brassard right now.
Yeah, get him back.
Trade for Derek Brassard, get him back, get him from the Yotes. The Yotes need draft picks. You need goals. We have an extra second round pick this year. Maybe if Arizona is falling off, if they're not playing well and they need to acquire draft picks, guess what? Second round for Brassard. Make it happen. I'm not saying that's the best possible trade, but I think that's the most doable at the moment. And God, we desperately need some scoring.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. And here's your moment of zen.
Chara gave it up. Backhand score. Barzell.
Blue jerseys there. Here's Chara getting it and just throwing it right up the middle. Barzell gets it, and that is a goal scorer's goal.